All right, think about how much data you have on your phone, your computer, or your cloud storage device. How much of your raw data is organized in a manner where if you handed me your data drive, I could find exactly what I needed there? And would you even allow me access to all of your data drive in the first place? Now let's think about how much of an organization's data is organized in such a way that enables efficiency and accessibility across all relevant members. And I want you to take this thought a little further. And now you have to collaborate with foreign companies for the first time, and everyone is on a different sheet of music. It could be a company in a similar industry or a completely different industry altogether. And in today's world, we rely on a lot of OCONUS collaboration. And I think at this point, I can tell you to stop imagining that, because this is the reality of our world that we live and work in today. We live in a world where different business models, cultures, workflows, processes create disparate piles of raw data that isn't harnessed properly. And the wheel of innovation is now just a spinning pinwheel of death. We celebrate new ideas and focus on new disruption when it really is just a reformation of an old practice brought back to life in the current century. The big tech cloud era really just wants you to dump piles of raw data online, but nothing is being done to sift through that information effectively. That incredibly hard lift to solve disparate data with tech is now answered by Palantir Technologies. Palantir is often misunderstood and misrepresented in the media for the same problems that they're trying to solve for: disparate data. And I believe that Palantir has been creating this brand new vertical in data management that no company right now is even close to touching. They've done this by cultivating the core product within the government for just about 2 decades. Some of the world's greatest inventions all started in government, the R&D, like the microwave, for example, or the internet. And now it's Palantir's turn in the limelight. They make data actionable by taking qualitative and quantitative and turning those into knowledge nodes. They integrate and manage systems. Their goal isn't to replace the user's capabilities with their own, instead just orchestrating the refined data. So all of those streams are on the same sheet of music. And all of this leads to generating network effects. Every data source that is integrated into the system is recorded, tagged with insights, and made accessible to those with appropriate clearances. Because of time, I want to focus on one key case study, which shows you just how powerful Palantir's offering is, how they're saving the world right now as you're listening to this. And I want you to focus on 3 key pillars: governance, analytics, and knowledge sharing. So what does Palantir have to do with COVID? My sub pitch is that without Palantir, we would not be where we are today with vaccine development, case monitoring, and data management across the industry. The world's greatest trial by fire exercise was orchestrated using Palantir, and no one was aware of it. N3C is the national collaboration among the medical communities that needed to turn raw data sources in across the world, compile them into one sheet of music, and then make that data actionable for everybody. It's hard enough in our fragmented healthcare industry where tech titans have come and gone, trying to be the white knight with promises of fixing healthcare. Everyone but Palantir has failed, and I believe it's the process that was the key. See, Palantir understands disparate systems after all of their main client is the military. So for the clear answer of them taking raw data in many languages, codes, formats into one platform, which is N3C, and give them to the Foundry platform so that everyone can just feed data to N3C, and then they can start churning and putting that into accessible data and then pushing that back out to the field so they can keep innovating out there. What ended up happening in this real world emergency exercise that they would sync up what was going on from the West Coast to the East Coast, Western nations to Eastern nations, spanning across all different data systems and cohorts that turned everything into one continuous stream of data. And that is the power of Foundry and how flexible that they can move within organizations and ecosystems. To push that even further, you have Apollo AI, which not only powers the raw data management, but also logistics out to end items. How do you think we've been able to track as a world, as a global community, every single jab that's put into people's arms? Again, it's all fed through Palantir. None of that would have been possible without their platform. So I know I'm just about out of time now. I'm going acapella my outro. So forget the gold hedge, forget the stack bets, forget the overvaluation, the lack of gap profits. I really wish the bears would find something better to tear down, like their S1, so they can actually attempt to understand the business model.
Yeah, hey James, this is a question around Palantir. And it may be that I lack the understanding of it, but from what I understand of Palantir is that they are so secretive in what they do and potentially how they do it, that it's kind of hard to understand how easy this might be for others to replicate, because they don't really talk about how they do what they do. So obviously what they do has a lot of importance for all the things that you mentioned. But how do we know that another company can't just come in and replicate this easily?
Okay, so I'll pose that in three separate ways. One, why is it that the global healthcare community had fallen on Palantir's network to get this done, right? Like I already mentioned, it's extremely hard in healthcare. Like you're not here in the United States, but I'll tell you, and everyone here that's in the US, nod your head yes and no if this is true. It's pulling teeth to try and get your basic EHR health data from like the West Coast to the East Coast. Like it's a nightmare. And we have a PhD in here, and she's even shaking her head yes. It's crazy hard, right? So imagine that happening on a global scale. The reason why I really keyed in on the N3C is because their ability to take everyone's resources, like they became the platform, and that's what they were designed for. And then they built off Palantir, and they just happened to have it all up and running before COVID hit. So they just started pushing out to the community, hey, just send us all your raw data. We will process it all for you. We will streamline it and then push it back out to the field. So now you have two main streams of data going back out to the fields. It's all streamlined. So everyone is seeing the exact same data coming in from, all over the world on COVID patients. Also, at the same time, they're able to run their own experiments, like let's try this drug testing, let's try that drug testing, and then push out that data. And then everyone's funneled through N3C. So that was just Palantir working there. And as far as the secretive nature goes, a lot of it had to do with NDAs with the government, right? But if you wanted to pay attention to what they actually did, I would say look at the GIDE experiment, which is the Global Information Domination Exercise. And I'm active duty, but I'll tell you right now, trying to get like one service trying to talk with another service and try to coordinate that, like forget it. Like I'd rather fight the healthcare battle, okay? And for them to take 11 COCOMs, right? That's your combat commanders across the entire globe to synchronize their data and effectively move in one motion. That's unparalleled. That hasn't happened before. So.
You're not concerned that someone like an Apple or a Google who have stacks of their own international data themselves wouldn't be able to replicate this easily?
So with the tech titans, I believe Amazon is the only one that's level 5 certified. They're working on level 6, and Microsoft is either level 5 already or they have level 6 certifications. So level 6 certification is basically you can handle top secret, like the highest level classified government data, but they don't have an Apollo network. Apollo Edge AI is Palantir's ability, again, to execute all of this on their own edge network out there in a secure, precise manner. So you have your individual devices out there in the field all the way back to the home station. And all of that is asynchronous and happens on their own networks there. So unless AWS or Microsoft start developing their own edge network, that's already at that classification, like they're not even gonna get those military contracts, right? They're more concerned about being the infrastructure as a service for them, being able to host all their cloud data. It's Palantir that helps manage and bridge all that data together. So Palantir doesn't do any kind of data, analysis for the companies. They just help orchestrate and allow the customers to use their own processes.